Oh, hi there. Good evening. Um, okay, well, I don't have a choice really. I have to talk a bit about more COVID because really that's the still the story of the day, unfortunately. Um, Even though I live a life where it's not too much of a factor. I mean, masks are obviously required. Washing hands is, usually a good idea anyway. Um, there were vaccinations, so whatever. 30 minutes of my time, like 3, 4, 5 months ago, I really can't remember. Not a big deal. Um, and I don't consider that you know the new normal, which is what a term that's frightening people. Um, the thing is, there never was a normal. The world's never been a normal place. And, these small changes that people have had to make to adjust to what life is turning into for many other people and now for themselves is something that people are slow to accept. And when I say things never were normal, viruses, contagions, pathogens, things that can make you ill, have always been around. And the powers that be, they create these things and have the power to uh, spread them across the world, has been a denied fact that now cannot be denied. I'm not saying there's no going back. I'm saying it isn't wise to go backward in thinking that, oh, if I don't have to wear a mask, if I don't have to take an inoculation whenever, a booster shot, something like that, against a virus, therefore everything's normal. Well, you in your head can think that. However, that doesn't make it true, and it hasn't been for way before the Cold War. Um, the West is too intertwined with the country that, as far as economic wise, has really they got shafted by the West. When Richard Nixon met Mao Zedong, he didn't go there with a fair game plan in mind, and rightfully so. They are the enemy, and it's always been that way. So when it came to economics, the West benefited gratefully from the cheap labor from the East. Um, Although many can argue that they make inferior product, and a lot of their stuff we don't want. And originally, the stuff that was used to be made in Western countries used to be of better quality, last longer, and all that sort of stuff. However, it did come at a price to it. A lot of the manufacturing of those sort of goods is, bad for the environment. Um, and, you know, it's also a disadvantage economically wise because there are a lot of industries. The automotive one in Detroit is a prime example of where a certain technology becomes obsolete for whatever reason. Um, and, that's all that a sector of the working populace knew how to do was this particular um, manufacturing business. That's all they knew. So when that left, there was a great swath of people who, were in a position where they didn't have the skill set to move into a different area of expertise. And, that was a disadvantage to having industries over here in Western society. I mean, there are some inventions that, like, they're never going to become obsolete. Like, you say, toasters, for example. People are always going to be toasting toast. But people say, well, bread's actually not that nutritional because mankind has abused wheat for so long that it's lost a lot of its original nutrition to it. But bread can bounce back for sure. There are a lot of really good breads out there, and probably don't have to put as much jam on your toast as some people do. But toasters they won't become obsolete. Not totally. They can make them better, but they don't. But anyway. But the whole point of all that was to say that um, that's how the Chinese are able to spread across the world this virus. And the tour operating business is also another component of this virus that helped it spread, as well as the Chinese Communist Party and their inventors, their creators, developing weapons to destroy the West. They claim that that's in their own defense, but nobody actually believes them. And this has been going on for a very long time. So, this new normal, it simply is the normal. It's not anything different. Because you have to make a few small changes does not mean it's the new normal. And everyone should learn about propaganda and how every media outlet, whether it's intentional or unintentional, is a propaganda apparatus. The news definitely knows that it is, and it's a fear mongering one. Even here in relatively COVID-free areas, they spread propaganda like you would not believe, and you can't take all your information off of the television. Um, it it has a way of brainwashing people. I mean, I watch and I get nauseated with the news after about half an hour. I think I could watch two runs of it, which go about 15 minutes each, and then I've had my fill, and maybe a documentary on the TV every now and then. And then there's YouTube and that its own host of problems, and Facebook and all those other obnoxious platforms. They're all propaganda too. But I mean, like even just like people who are basically nobodies, but latch on to another bigger idea, can create their own propaganda too. I saw something. Basically, what it was waiting at the bus. Obviously, a derelict had been there at some point in the night because there were garbage everywhere. They usually leave garbage everywhere. Nothing, paraphernalia wise, but just, overall garbage. Used masks, some wrappers, that kind of thing. Anyway, at this particular bus stop, on the corner, like it was in a somewhat discreet place, but if you had been sitting there for like 5 or 10 minutes, you would have easily noticed it. I noticed it within a minute. There was a sticker there, and you can actually go to places and have a professional looking sticker made, saying what basically you want it to. Kind of like a meme on the internet, actually. Now, this one wasn't very professional because it was a bit long winded, but essentially what it said was you don't have to wear a mask. It's part of the fear mongering campaign. That was the gist of it. And I looked on the ground, seeing all this garbage, right? And then I look at that sign, that little, it wasn't that little, but fair size sticker. And I go, you're encouraging some of the dirtiest people in our city to not respect government health and wearing masks and then everything that goes with it, like I don't know, basic cleaning and all that sort of stuff. You're encouraging that, and you're trying to enlighten people. Isn't that a bit screwed up? But propaganda is funny. Supposing that was a pro-masker who put that up there, so that someone coming along who have half a brain can go, ugh, people who don't wear masks are filthy. Look at the sign here that's saying don't wear a mask, and they obviously listen to them, and they're filthy. So propaganda has many different doors and aspects to it that are, something that people, they don't get to the next step of learning. And this is how you create tiers in society, upper levels and lower levels. This is how you get people to, be at the bottom, sleeping in the garbage, and you have people way at the top who don't even know what garbage is. And I didn't know what to think. I ended up scraping it off the post because it was irritating to me. So not much of a story. Always happens at the bus. I don't know what it is. Just simply always happens there. No one else was around, but I personally just didn't like it. And as much as I'd like to not wear a mask when I don't have to, at the flip side, uh, if I go to a restaurant where someone has to, get up close and personal with my the meal I just ordered, I would like for them to wear a mask. That's my opinion on it. Um, you know, um, Other people, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know other people's opinions, but that's my opinion on it anyway. I wear my mask where and when I'm supposed to, so it's not really that big an inconvenience. What would be a catastrophe is if a virus got released into the general population by a foreign power that made it so that when I go to the bus stop, the new normal is, oh, there's a dead guy here from COVID. When have I not seen that? Yeah, there are viruses out there that potent, and the Chinese Communist Party has proven that they can spread one such virus across the world should they choose to. And our government is a little bit of kowtowing, but they are basically negotiating with them to not release these more dangerous forms of horrible things. And some of them are being cowards about it. Some of them are, you know, being too brazen and selfish in their own regard because they're confident of their own safety. Um, I mean, you get guys like Stephen Colbert, for example. I like to pick on him because he really went weird. Like, he used to be funny on occasion. Sometimes his jokes weren't any good, but sometimes he was really funny. And then he got all political and, He's gone weird. Everyone who's watched him at all would know that. And you know why? Because he's probably shit scared of getting his version of COVID, which would be different than a normal civilian's version of COVID. It'd probably be far more terrifying for a guy like him. So he is obviously on whatever bandwagon he's on, whether it's the return to normalcy, definitely anti-Trump, and these other things. And there's just some problems you can't ignore, and you can't trust the leaders not to make the decisions that are best for you. That is true. It doesn't mean they're turning on society. It's simply that they're not making the best decisions for you. They're making the best decisions for them, and if it helps you out at the same time, then, well, job's a good one. Um, you know, because, a guy like Stephen Colbert, if, the powers that be wanted him to get COVID, as intelligent a man as he might be, and I say the word might, he does know a lot of people. A lot of people know him. He's has to meet people he doesn't know a lot, and one never knows. And you can't stay awake 24 hours a day, all day, every day, uh, indefinitely. It can't be done. And even if it could, like, are you, you know, not going to use toilet paper because there could be COVID on the toilet paper when you go to take a shit? Because you can't be watching your toilet paper 24 hours a day. Um, you can't be sure that, you know, the person's hand you shake doesn't have COVID on it. Now, some people do this thing. Um, can't be sure there's not COVID there either. If somebody wants to give somebody like Stephen Colbert COVID, uh, with him in his wide knowledge of things, there's no way he could prevent that from happening other than going with whatever the flow is of the biggest thinking of his massive circle. Um, that would be his best, assurance that something, like him getting COVID wouldn't happen. Although it still could. We don't know these things, and I'm using Stephen Colbert as an example. Um, because yeah, can't know everything. It's impossible. And figures like him will have seen all aspects of what COVID is. In all likelihood, most people have had COVID, and it didn't really affect them. They didn't even notice, and that's how it was. And then there are others where that was it. Good night, Irene. And it's a spectrum. And Colbert has seen the worst of the worst, and it has affected him, as it's done for many people who have, taken a tour down the bad section of the hospital wing. It's quite traumatizing, actually. I'm seeing people in such states, and that is hard to put out of your mind when authority figures are telling you this is how dangerous the virus is, blah 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 blah, and then you revert back to that thinking. That bit of it works as propaganda, to get you into a bad mind frame. And I haven't seen much or any of that really. I mean, it's kind of an icky subject, but I am cognizant of it. So, you know, it's kind of easier for me to talk about certain subjects than it would be for someone else. A lot of people are just shit scared to go on YouTube and not even have a script ready for them. And here I am talking to an unknown audience about COVID-19 and expressing opinions that could be construed as controversial. To each their own, on their own opinions. However, you know, not really bothered. If you ever looked on this thing called the internet, a lot of people have really stupid opinions. So, honestly, like, you have to work very hard to have the dumbest opinion out there. And that's not my goal, but you would have to work very hard to have the dumbest opinion out there. So, you know, talk to you people later. Have a good night.